Thor is not evil. Hear me out. One time I was watching a video made by Casual Geographic where he explained that the biggest trick that Hollywood ever pulled was convincing everyone that gorillas are something to be feared and scared of, while in reality they just want to be left alone and eat plants. And while I am yet to figure out if that is the truth, there is another one of those tricks I would really like to point out, and that is convincing mythology nerds left and right that this guy right here, Thor, Odin's son, protector of mankind, is Odin's drunken, evil killing machine. The idea was started in the Norse God of War games and later furthered in Zack Snyder's adult animation series Twilight of the Gods, both of which portray Thor as a bloodthirsty psychopath massacring the innocent Jotun tribes for fun. There's also a bunch of AI slop videos that make this claim without providing any examples from the source material whatsoever. But out of these two, I really think it's Twilight of the Gods that gets most of the blame, because throughout Ragnarok we learn that Thor isn't inherently evil, just a victim of severe emotional abuse.
You don't talk! You don't think! I think, you kill!
Thor from Twilight of the Gods, on the other hand, does not have this excuse, because this guy is literally a cartoon villain in an adult cartoon. In episode 1 he nukes an entire tribe of giants simply because they couldn't teleport Loki over to him. The show does somewhat imply that this Thor is also on Odin's leash, but if Odin really sent him out to kill giants, he wouldn't send along Balder for diplomacy. Also, if this Thor were alive today, he'd probably be on the Epstein files. Why, Zack? Just why? Quick side note, this isn't the first time that Thor has been portrayed as evil, but I don't think many people can name this movie, so I'm gonna let it slide. Also, I do want to make clear that I love God of War Ragnarok, no matter what damage it has done to Thor's reputation among mythology nerds. I also don't really hate Twilight of the Gods, I just think it feels like Zack Snyder played God of War and decided to make a hentai fanfic. Anyway, back on topic. Now, what do these two pieces of media have to do with the idea that Thor is evil? Well, I'm gonna try not to finger point at anyone, because I do understand the psychology of people too lazy to check the source material. But here's the thing, up until this point the most iconic depiction of Thor that we got is a Goldilocks from Marvel, which is so deviated from actual mythology that if the real Thor were to watch it, he would not understand how it's supposed to be about him. Which was fine by most fans until this movie? Is that the word I'm looking for?
You flick too hard, damn it!
Which was fine until this piece of shit came along and turned Thor into the butt of every joke. As for God of War and Twilight of the Gods, neither of these are fully mythologically accurate, but their depiction of Thor looks way more like Thor's mythological description. Not only that, but the world these two characters live in leans way more in the mythological atmosphere than Marvel ever did. The settings, the realms, the occasional appearance of gods that never made it to Marvel, it all screams, this is the Norse cosmos, deal with it. So, similar to how people assume that the most beautiful girls will make the best girlfriends, and I don't care how much of an alpha male you are right now, we've all made that mistake at least once, you'd think that these two characters are fully lore accurate because they look more like Thor's mythological description. And keep in mind, one of these has been made by Zack Snyder, the same guy that somehow convinced people that the Persian Empire had creatures that look like they come straight out of Mordor. Either he's just very persuasive, or his fanbase is just that gullible. I'ma go with the last one. This led to the popular belief that the God of Thunder is more like the God of War Crimes. All because nobody has read the source material before making these statements. I, on the other hand, have read Norse mythology by Neil Gaiman, and if that isn't convincing enough, I have also read both the Poetic and the Prose Edda, and when you look at the actual source material, you will find that Thor is just about as far from evil as it gets. Like, this guy was literally revered as the divine protector of mankind, something even Marvel of all things got right.
You and I, we fight for the same cause, the protection of this world.
Now, does that mean that he's perfect? No, definitely not. Short-tempered? Yes. Alcoholic? Yes, but not I accidentally killed my mom type of alcoholic. Murderous? Maybe, but with context. You see, when Thor kills someone, 9 out of 10 times it's a Jotun that, according to the lore, threatens the existence of Asgard and Midgard. Even if they don't have actual world-ending plans in the stories, they are a bit of a menace. Like the Jotun Thiazi, who kidnapped Idun, keeper of the Apples of Immortality. or the Jotun Geirrod, who planned on assassinating Thor by luring him into his house unarmed, which in Viking times was seen as very dishonorable. Or the stone giant Hrungnir, who guilt-tripped Odin into inviting him into Asgard, got drunk, insulted everyone, bragged that he was going to steal both Freya and Sif, Thor's wife, challenged Thor to a duel, ran home, built another stone giant specifically to kill Thor, before ultimately getting killed himself. Like, at that point you're basically begging for the smoke. I can go on and name more examples of Thor murdering Jotuns because they are menaces to the Norse cosmos, but you do get the point by now. But how does he act when not doing battle against the Jotuns? Well, I hate to admit, but there is one instance where he did kill somebody for no reason at all, and that is at Baldur's funeral, where he kicks a dwarf named Lid into Baldur's funeral pyre for basically just for standing in his way, I guess. Like, I'm not even gonna try to justify this. But that is like the only time in all of mythology where he actually killed somebody for no reason. More often than not, as far as heathen gods go, he actually is, in fact, a
calm and reasonable person.
And keep in mind that he lives in the same world as Loki. This guy is a straight up menace. In most of Thor's stories that aren't about him killing Jotuns, he is really just minding his own business until Loki pulls off some kind of prank. Sometimes those pranks even have disastrous consequences for the Aesir. Like the time when Loki shaved Thor's wife bald, like permanently bald. Thor even wanted to break all his bones. Reasonable crash out if you ask me. But hey, it resulted in him getting his kick-ass hammer, so he let Loki off the hook for this one. But if I had to pick a story where his not so aggressive nature really shines, it would have to be the time with Thjalfi. So we all know that Thor travels to Jotunheim for adventure more often than I travel to Turkey to meet distant relatives. During one of these occasions, Thor and Loki took a stop in Midgard at the house of a farmer where Thor offered them the meat of his goats in exchange for lodgings. He told the family that they can eat as much meat as they want, but they must not touch the bones. But then Thjalfi, son of the farmer, broke one of the goat's legs trying to eat some bone marrow. Why is this a problem? Well, you see, when Thor kills his goats for food, he needs their skin and bones intact to resurrect them the next morning. And because Thjalfi broke one of their bones, one goat ended up with a broken leg. So when Thor found out, as you can understand, he got very angry because Thjalfi basically crippled his goat forever. Keep in mind that he's an absurdly powerful god, second only to Odin in terms of might. He could have just as easily slammed their door, eat their food, sleep in their bed, maybe bang the farmer's wife, and nobody would be able to stop him. But no, he chose to be a calm and reasonable person and even offered them food in return. On top of that, he also protects this world from outer threats, so what Thjalfi did was basically biting the hand that feeds him. At first he wanted to burn the entire place to the ground like most heathen gods would, but when he saw the fear in the farmer's eyes, he calmed down and simply took his kids as bondservants. In the Viking world, that's the equivalent of stealing a Tesla, resulting in Elon Musk offering you a job as his PR. So there, Thor is not evil. Even the Eddas agree with me. Still not convinced? Let me know in the comments.